Yes guys, hello, welcome back to the YouTube. So today's video it's Wednesday again, and I think we filmed this session only a couple of weeks back, but it's just worked out well timing wise. This is my last session before I go on holiday. So after today, I'll be having pretty much 10 days off completely, which is like the longest that I'll have ever really had off training since I properly got into it. So that'll be nice. Nice to have some time off. I'm taking Shannon away for her birthday, so we go away on Friday. This will be out by the time that I'm already away, so follow me on Instagram and you'll see where we are. You'll see all the nice photos. So last session today, in terms of the diet, so I spoke about this before, so I think I said in the last video like I'm going to make sure I'm sub 200 before I go away. I was 199 pounds this morning, so we've done it, we've made it. I'm still fat, but I'm leaner, I'm looking a little bit better. I don't hate how I look quite as much now, so that's nice. But yeah, like in terms of today's video and what I'm about to speak about is how we can maintain performance or still progress performance while dieting. Obviously, being such a natural athlete, you can put that underneath, Pete. You can put Finn Kelly Instagram, natural athlete, because I'm such a natural athlete. It's a little bit harder for us to still progress performance all the way through a diet, or even maintain performance through a diet. Hence why we push up in an off season or gaining phase, whatever you want to call it. It's not to say it's impossible. A lot of it is psychological factors, but that's what I'm going to chat about today. So throughout the session, I'll discuss different ways that we can make sure that we can still progress or at least maintain our performance to the best of our abilities whilst dieting. But other than that, it's a back session for me. Reese has just got here. It's an upper session for him. So we'll get plenty of clips. I will discuss the tips, the secrets to maintaining performance or progressing performance while dieting throughout. So yeah, sit back, relax, enjoy, and yeah, I literally got another 5 minutes. So at the minute my steps are at 12,500, so I'm going on a walk in the morning. I do steps pre-session, sometimes post-session if I need to, and then a walk in the evening, and that gets me my 12.5. So I do 10 minutes before, switch on, but also to get the steps done. Sad music video. Yeah. The first tip in terms of being able to maintain or still progress your performance while you're dieting is a very basic one. It's a bit of a cop-out to be the first one, but it's basically just your mentality. If you go into a session and you think, oh, I'm a kilo lighter or I'm a pound lighter or whatever it may be than the last session, already you're setting yourself up for potentially not progressing. You're already sort of giving yourself an excuse. So you need to be positive. You can't go in thinking, oh, I'm a bit lighter, so I'm going to regress, or I'm going to be loads weaker. Because if you think like that, then you will be weaker. Yeah, just because you've got a little bit less body weight behind you doesn't necessarily mean that the movement has to regress. Yeah, you know, even if you maintain a movement while you're dieting, let's say you start a diet and by 4 or 5 weeks down the line, you're 10, 15 pounds down. Even if you're still just maintaining, or you've progressed a little bit and now you're maintaining from when you started, that's a great progression because you are lighter and you're still maintaining that same load. So you have got less weight behind you. But if you go into the session going, oh, I'm 2 pounds down, a kilo down, whatever it may be, already you're giving yourself that excuse to start regressing and getting weaker. And as soon as you start thinking like that and putting a bit less weight on the bar because you're a bit lighter and it's feeling a bit heavy, you're just asking to lose muscle. So mindset is the first tip. Very tight hips. Easy.
Everybody around the world understand. But I don't wanna be inside of you when the sun goes down. I don't wanna be around you. Is it?
So I'd rather have the assist your lift bar, but it's gone missing.
It's gone missing.
Second tip is going to be your training accuracy. So what I mean by that is, when you're in a gaining phase, if you're not already training accurately, when you come to dieting, you'll feel a big difference. If you're throwing weight around, it's quite ironic because I'm just in a yeah buddy row. But if you're throwing weight around in a gaining phase, obviously you've got more support around your connective tissue, your joints, etc. You've got more body fat, you've got more weight behind you. So throwing the weight around is going to be a lot easier than when you start feeling a little bit lighter, being lighter, having less body fat. So you need to be accurate in your gaining phase so that when it comes to dieting, you hold on to that accuracy. Likelihood is you're going to hold on to performance. Because if you're not throwing the weight around prior, when it comes to dieting down and being a bit leaner, being a little bit lighter, you're not going to notice as big of a drop off or as big of a difference. Like I say, it's quite ironic because I have just done a yeah buddy row. But generally, if you're accurate with majority of your movements, as you should be anyway, and you could argue that wasn't accurate yeah buddy row, it's not a bent over row, it's completely different. If you're accurate with your movements, when it comes to dieting down, you maintain that accuracy, generally you're going to be able to maintain your performance. So it won't be such a big drop off from what you were doing previously.
Looking like I push crap, like right on my step. 5 years from now, shots, remember that. Middle of December, going mad, trying to fill a back. Never been so contact, never doing push-ups in a dirty pad. Always been money, man. I've been jailed 2 times for the local bands. I see them niggas getting gassed off on the book brand. I got some other plans, stuck it up in my band. I do the really rock on any block, nigga, I know money dance. Shout my haters in Spain and my killers in France. I got trees in the yard and I got haters in the dam. When we tap till we haters and we land. Only lines in the willers in the gang. I got a million in the plan. But for now I'm putting Whitney in the pan. Been a minute since I visited the farm. But I'm really getting busy with the vision and the plan. All them long days in my shop, that's see I've been to help. Must have been the climber for the films I saw. Meets money, get the name rings about flipping out. Free my niggas off the prison shop.
So the next tip that I'm going to quickly go through is going to be your exercise selection. So when you start coming down in terms of body weight, when your food is lower, when your expenditure is maybe higher, your recovery capability is going to be a little bit lower, a little bit sort of worse than they were when you were eating a lot of food, when you were heavier, when you weren't moving as much. Yeah, you got more time to just rest and recover when you're in more of a surplus and heavier body weight. So as your recovery capabilities come down, generally your exercise selection, it's always going to be important, but it's maybe even a little bit more important as you get leaner and as you get on less food, and like I say, as your recovery capabilities come down. So doing movements which are more difficult to stabilize probably isn't going to be your best bet. So let's say doing like dumbbell presses, I have struggled to stabilize them anyway with my scapula, but for someone who doesn't usually, if you're doing a dumbbell press and you're 50 pounds heavier than the end of the diet, are you realistically going to be able to stabilize that dumbbell press as well as you could at the start? Are you going to get as much out of it? Are you going to be able to take it to complete muscular failure, or are you going to fail due to stabilization issues? That's likelihood that it is going to be the case, that it's more so that you can't stabilize the movement rather than you're actually failing through the musculature. So exercise selection is going to be something that's important to set up almost just before you begin a diet. So for example, if you've got loads of free weight movements in, maybe start pulling some of them out. Obviously I've got like a pull up in now. You could argue yes, it's a free weight movement, but it's generally very easy to stabilize. It's on a pretty much a fixed plane, you can't really go too wrong with it. Obviously we've got the air buddy row, but I've not got any like free weight pressing in there. I've not got any barbell pressing, any dumbbell pressing. The majority of my movements are machine based, easier to stabilize. Generally, not always, but generally the stimulus is going to be a little bit higher in terms of the stimulus to fatigue ratio. So that exercise selection is going to be important, because as you get leaner and leaner and leaner, that demand and that sort of the difficulty of stabilizing movements is really going to show when you get leaner. So make sure you've got exercises in place that not only you get on well with, that you connect with, that you can perform safely, but movements that you think you're going to be able to keep in, likelihood is throughout the entire diet. If not, if a movement's dropping off a cliff, then don't be afraid to change that movement. Don't just change it because it's getting hard, but if you're noticing that no matter what you do, you're really struggling to maintain performance on a movement, likely because of stabilization, then don't be afraid to take that movement out. So the next tip is going to be your nutrient timing. So obviously if you're not on that much food, let's say you're on a few hundred grams of carbs, a couple hundred grams maybe, you want to be prioritizing as much of your food, or at least as much of your carbohydrates, as much of your calories around your training window. Okay, so I'll use my diet now as an example. Okay, so I'm on 240 carbs on training days, and I have pretty much, well, if not all of my carbs pre, intra and post. So I have 25 carbs in my intra, I have then 100 carbs in my pre, and I have just over 100 carbs in my post. So the rest of my meals are literally just trace carbs, where I'll get a few carbs from lettuce, a few carbs in my whey meal, in my final meal, and my first meal is egg whites and a whole egg. So all of my carbohydrates really, apart from trace, are based around my training window. Yeah, that's because that's where my energy source is going to come from. Obviously I still have total calories in the form of protein and fats as well. I also have body fat stored as energy. But in terms of my day-to-day energy going in, predominantly through carbohydrates, because my fats are relatively low, they're at 30 on a training day, I need to prioritise that around training. That's going to give me that energy to perform at the best that I can. And to be fair, like, I haven't really noticed any difference in terms, if anything, I feel better going into the session because I'm not as full. Yeah, before I'd be eating a lot of food, going into the session maybe feeling like I'm still digesting food, whereas now I've still got a good amount of carbs around the training window, but I'm not going in as full sort of in terms of my stomach. So regardless of the numbers, your numbers might be completely different, but you need to prioritise the carbohydrates, or at least the total calories. You might have a slightly higher fat diet, fair play, but either way, prioritise your calories, majority of your calories, around your training window. Still make sure you're getting a good serving of protein every 2 to 4 hours ideally. Outside of that, majority of your calories, majority of your carbohydrates, pre, intra, post workout. This will be the 5th and final tip, and that's going to be the time frame that you set out for your diet. So generally, depending on where you start, that will dictate the time frame. So if you start relatively lean, depending on the goal, if it's just a small mini cut, you might only need 4 weeks, 8 weeks. If you start off relatively heavy, quite a lot of body fat to lose, let's say you're going into a contest prep and you've got quite a lot to come off, then you need to give yourself enough time. Ideally more than like a traditional 12-week prep, let's say, a lot more time than that. But for me, so this pre-prep diet, the goal is obviously so I'm in a better position when it comes to prepping. So I can be pretty aggressive with it. I don't want to be pissing about dieting forever. I don't want to be spending 30 weeks in a pre-prep diet. I ideally want to get it done within maybe 8 to 12 weeks or so. So I obviously started quite heavy, quite a lot of body fat, so I could be aggressive. The rate of loss is slowing down a little bit now, but I've been pretty aggressive all the way through. I've been losing over 3 pounds per week. Now, again, if you start off a lot leaner, that's not going to help you. Yeah, losing 3 pounds per week or more when you've not got that much to lose isn't really going to be the most beneficial thing. That being said, if you do, it's only going to be a short time frame, so you're not going to be dieting for that long. But align your time frame with obviously what your goals are. So if you want to be doing a contest prep, then make sure you've aligned it for when your shows are going to be. A pre-prep diet, align it so you've got some time to work back up, work food up before a prep. Holiday cut, a photo shoot diet, whatever it may be. Give yourself enough time. Don't be giving yourself 4 weeks when you've got 60 pounds to lose, something stupid. Give yourself plenty of time, in which case if you can diet a little bit slower, especially towards the end as you get leaner, you're going to feel better for that rather than, let's say, trying to pull off 3 to 5 pounds towards the end when you're not really got that much to come off. You're going to be feeling pretty trashed. Your performance is probably going to be dropping down. So give yourself enough time, be a bit more aggressive at the start, take your foot off the gas a little bit towards the end as you get a little bit leaner. Megs myself, fell out my ear, went through my legs. I'm that talented, I megs myself. So guys, that pretty much wraps up the video. So I gave you those 5 tips. I've actually got them in order. So the first one was mindset, second one was accuracy, third one was your exercise selection, the fourth one was your nutrient timing, and the fifth one was the time frame of the diet. And then on top of that, like obviously your nutrition should just be a given in terms of eating adequate protein. Nutrient timing, obviously I've covered in terms of prioritising around the training window, but outside of that, eating protein regularly throughout the day, spike MPS, that should be a given. Hydration should be a given, making sure you're drinking enough to stay hydrated, and your sleep and your rest should be a given, making sure you get enough rest basically. So the other 5 that I mentioned were things that you might not have thought of when you're dieting. Those other things that I've just said there should be a given at all times anyway if you want to make progress really. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of jazz. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments or drop me a DM on Instagram, and I'll catch you all in the next one.